So you want to add anything else other than you liking massive wieners?
I do like massive wieners. The Honda wanted to be a jet ski, and it did not end very well. Driving downtown, it was raining a whole lot, and I don't normally drive downtown when it rains. And a section of the road had flooded, and it was raining so much I couldn't see the road hardly in front of me. So when I hit the puddle, it pretty much hit a brick wall and stopped. There was so much water, it hydrolocked the engine, and the bottom of the car was pretty much floating on the water. That's how much water there was. Fried the ECU, put a new ECU in. It did crank. It drove, not very well, but it drove. Pulled it in the garage, tore it apart, and it had 2 bent rods on cylinders 1 and 2. But it drove into the garage. Block had to be honed out, but it was fine otherwise. The crank was fine. It didn't spin any bearings, surprisingly. And then decided from there if I should rebuild for high comp or spend about the same and build for turbo. So that's what I did. So everything in the engine got replaced. Everything. The high comp build was kind of like a mild rebuild. So it still had stock rods, had upgraded pistons. The head was done for the cam, valve train, and all that, but I had stock valves. So it's kind of like a mild high comp build. The turbo build was all out, so Speed Factory rods, Vitara pistons, block guard in it, everything in there to support about 450 horsepower. So
insert comment about doing something right the first time.
Buy the right parts the first time.
Yeah.
I've learned the hard way.
I think he's learned the hard way too.
He has not learned yet.
I'm buying all the expensive shit the first time. That's why it's taking so fucking long.
But then you skimp on the other things. You're like, oh, this is okay.
Like what?
Yeah.
that was a normal.
Replacing a clutch with a stock clutch.
It works.
So I spent the next 7 months getting parts lists together, buying parts, getting everything together, and then putting it all onto the car. Really, once we had all the parts, waiting on all the parts was the longest time. That and finding time off work to put it together. It went together pretty easily. Like when I pulled it into the garage and took it apart, I had the whole thing down to bare block minus the crank still in it in like an hour and a half. From complete running engine to torn out, ready to have new parts put in, an hour and a half. So disassembly was simple, easy. Reassembly was not as terrible as I thought with all the additional moving parts, additional lines, vacuum lines, stuff like that. It wasn't terrible. It was a bit more than just an NA motor, of course, but it wasn't hard to do. These Hondas are like Lego blocks. Not too much custom stuff. It was a lot of learning because it was my first actual turbo build. So plumbing for the oil feed, oil return, the proper parts for the turbo, what kind of manifold, supporting mods. Oh, blow-off valve. The first one I did have an issue with because it was that lock ring style, and it instantly had a boost leak. So I had to cut the pipe, take that out, and get a Greddy style blow-off valve, and that works a lot better. Still needs to have, it's on a street tune base map right now, so it's on like a 5-pound boost limit, but it'll go to that 5 pounds real quick. So until it's fully tuned, I can't really get into it, but it'll drive around town and go to meets, go to shows. Just got to keep an eye on the plugs every now and then, but other than that, it does pretty good. When I get the time, I want to get a whole new sheet of ABS and work on an under tray and redevelop a rear diffuser for it now that I have a better understanding of how it's going to work. I would like to do some track events at CMP, Roebling Raceway, maybe Atlanta Motorsport Park, but a lot of that is just due to getting the car fully tuned out so I can drive it wide open with no problems. The goal is 300 to the wheels, which with the parts in it should be no problem. Once I get the motor tuned out and running good, finalize some of the aero pieces, it's just little odds and end things that I want, not necessarily need. Full cage eventually, just little engine pieces here and there that are cool / make things work better. I would love a wide body, but unfortunately the company that makes the wide body kit for this is out of Russia.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Oof.
I've heard there's some loopholes for them to be able to ship into the States, but it's kind of iffy. And the kit's about $2,500, which is not bad considering it's the only real company that makes a wide body for the coupes. If I had a hatchback, there'd be wide body options all day long. But that body style is very niche in the market for wide bodies, so it would be nice. Oh yeah, I finally got the splitter cables, which I've had a lot of controversy over, mounted to the chassis on the bottom and the cables through the core support on the top to support.
That should be it, unless you want to add anything else other than you liking massive wieners.
I do like massive wieners.